Now, the presidency has denied that plans are afoot to move the upcoming BRICS summit to China. Pressure is mounting on government to arrest Russian President Vladimir Putin if he attends August gathering. It's after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for him for alleged war crimes in Ukraine, while the ANC's International Relations Committee member, Obed Bapela, joins us now for more on the story. Mr. Bapela, good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Firstly, a lot has happened in the last month or so regarding South Africa, our position, consequences around that position regarding Russia and Ukraine. Does the ANC hold the view that we're still taking the right position here?
Look, as you said, Kathy, and to the viewers of Newzroom Afrika, definitely so many things have happened. There are still going to be so many things happening because the options that we had put forward are still being looked at as possible scenarios, so that we do not also be seen as neglecting the law that we are signatory to. But at the same time, we don't want to exacerbate the war in Europe, which Russia and Ukraine, and to be something out of control, because any arrest of a sitting president is a provocation in itself, and those are the things that we are looking at also. Yes, South Africa is continuing to host the BRICS. We're starting with the political party plus dialogue. All the BRICS countries, political parties that are in government will all be here in South Africa on the 18th, 19th, and 20th of July for that meeting of political parties. We have extended invitations to all members that are aspiring to be members of BRICS. You are Mexico, you are United Arab Emirates, you are Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and many others in Africa. Former liberation movements will all be here, so that we could then begin to influence that agenda of the summit that is taking place in August. As to what happened in that summit, we are still continuing with the preparations, expecting that all members of BRICS will be in that summit. As to who will be attending, usually is the heads of states, but no confirmations have been received as to who is leading which delegation from the BRICS members. Others that will be attending will be heads of states that will be inviting in the BRICS Plus platform, so that when the original members who are going to be discussing membership will then be coming back out of that meeting, extending to the other members really to come and talk about that. So the theme of both political parties and the summit is the same. All meetings are going to be held in Johannesburg, and we just hope, therefore, that this issue of the ICC will have been resolved. But the president is now out on a peace mission. As we said, we choose peace, we do not choose war.
What is the mandate that you've given him?
Well, look, China had came up with 12 points that they've shared with us. When I was in Russia myself, representing the ANC in some gathering, we did engage bilaterally with the United Russia Party, and after that, we also engaged with the Communist Party of Russia, and to say to them, what ideally will it be for them to cease fire? Because even when I was there in July, the element of peace was there. What will it take for Russia to cease fire? They gave us 4 points as Russia, and I know that Ukraine has 3 points, and the president will be receiving them now in the delegation. Russia might be having more, but these are 4 fundamental. One, that for ceasefire to happen, in the negotiation table, there must be America, USA, there must be NATO, and also there must be Ukraine, so that the 3, when they're in the table, including Russia, then they can then engage on issues that can then lead to a permanent peace. The second one, they said the demilitarization of Ukraine, because all your mercenaries from all over the world, they are all now there, recruited, so many other volunteers that have gone in there. Ukrainians have also been armed, and then also they are there. So for the demilitarization means, therefore, everyone who is not a soldier and who is not a police must be disarmed. And then the third issue that the Russians raised was the issue of NATO forces and the NATO armaments that have been now put up in that place in the backyard of Russia. Then there must really be an agreement on the zone in which they need to shift, because where they are very provocative. And the last was then the Minsk agreement, which was signed when Soviet Union folded up, and Russia imagined that the Warsaw Pact will be done away with. And in that Minsk agreement, NATO was also to have been done away. But that has not happened, and they want to know who has betrayed who in this particular scenario. So those are the points that we gave to the president, and we hope they will further engage with them. There might be additional points like the 12 points of China, which similarly look the same, the end of hostilities. That's what China is saying, amongst others.
So, Mr. Bapela, right now, you're talking about a situation where Russia has made it clear what conditions it's put on the table to sort of get the ceasefire. Looking at the delegation that is part of these talks, I don't see the US, I don't see NATO as part of the African delegation, and this is the delegation that we're told is going to be the one brokering peace. So what is truly the likelihood of getting some form of peace when from the get-go there's certain partners that are missing?
Well, yes, I mean, remember, this is an African mission to start engaging based on all the points. Russia has met with China, and China, when the president of China was in Russia, he put those 12 points to them. And Brazil has joined China also on the similar points. And the president of Brazil has been going to Europe and then in the Latin America canvassing. At the end, we'll have to go to the US. At the end, we'll have to go to the UN, because UN either becomes the mediator, because what President Ramaphosa and the delegation are, they are not mediators. They are going to broker. And then obviously America might say, we want so on the mediation. Russia will say who they want in mediation.
Do you think South Africa is in a position?
Will also do the same.
Do you think that South Africa is in a position to get the US to the negotiating table right now, when we're looking at a situation where our future in AGOA is currently under question? The US, at least by looking at what has been happening in the last couple of weeks, we've had a delegation of ministers try to go to the West to negotiate. Ibrahim Patel is the latest minister to try and manage the fallout on that front. And the U.S. very much believing that South Africa has not, in fact, taken a position of non-alignment, but that we are aligned and biased towards Russia. So what are the chances?
We are not aligned at all.
That's not what the U.S. thinks. But that's not what the U.S. thinks.
I mean, if you look at the letter that the U.S. Congress members, the 4 members wrote,
yes,
it says they believe that Lady R did pick up weapons in South Africa. It's a false statement, and we want to prove that that was false. And I so wish that the commission that the president established can hasten up the processes so that evidence can then come to the fore that government is not being believed. So then there'll be a neutral body that can engage on the issue. And then if they found out that there was no arms that went on that, because once there were arms and then indeed is like that, obviously the accusation will then be indicating something. But where we stand as government and as South Africa, no arms went into that ship as sanctioned by the Arms Control Convention Committee.
The problem that South Africa is facing is much broader than that, Mr. Bapela, because ultimately there is a view that South Africa has been very vocal about its alliance with Russia over this matter, which unfortunately has eroded this stance of non-alignment that government says it takes. And adding to that, there has been no outright clear condemnation of South Africa or even of the ANC to Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Remember, we had said we are not condemning, we are not condoning. So those statements were uttered.
But that is a non.
And then also that is why even in the UN we are not voting for or against. We are abstaining.
So
that indicates neutrality.
Does that mean that the ANC does not believe that Russia has, in all effect, violated the UN Charter? Do you not believe that that is the case?
No, the UN Charter was violated, definitely. But look at the reason that Russia has been raising all the years, almost over 10, 20 years, that NATO is expanding dangerously in their own terrain. And if they can do the same by going to Mexico and put up arsenals and weapons and everything, it will be justified that America will then attack Mexico for the same reason
so you do believe
that America will do in Mexico.
So you do believe that Russia has done something wrong?
No. In terms of definitely invading others, in terms of the UN Charter, definitely Russia has done something wrong. But the reasons is what compels us to say,
but you believe that they're justified. You believe they're justified effectively.
No.
Because you're saying that they've committed a crime, but when we evaluate the reason why we believe they've committed this crime, it's justified.
The Charter. I didn't use the word crime.
Fair enough.
They went against the Charter, definitely. There I agree with all the UN Charter says we should not. However, South Africa and the ANC says, let's pursue peace, because when you look at the Freedom Charter of the African National Congress, it says there shall be peace and all conflict shall be settled through negotiations and not war. We are standing on that 1955 statement, and that is why if you take sides and you condemn, no one will open the door for you to progress.
Do you believe this?
So
do you believe this position has it been worth it? Has it been worth it for the country, Mr. Bapela? We're sitting in a situation where we're having a weakened rand. I mentioned AGOA earlier. The bigger threat, of course, is the fact that investors are pulling out of South African bonds, which the effect of that, if it continues, will have even greater consequences for this country, and it will affect ordinary people.
And for being punished for not taking sides.
Do you believe that your position has been worth it for this country? Has it been worth it?
But definitely, look, if you don't take sides and somebody decides to punish you because they want to bulldoze you to a particular corner, let it be, because we cannot be forced to take sides. And we're not going to take sides. We'll pursue peace, and one day this peace will definitely yield results. Yes, we want to be in AGOA. We don't want to go out of AGOA, and we did not load any arms on that particular ship. Thirdly, we are not our soldiers are not in Russia. We are not partaking in that particular war. So South Africans, America obviously has its own views around us, and they want to punish us simply because the rules of international rules are not applicable equally to everybody. And those things are there. I know it's a very difficult environment, but we will definitely triumph at the end, and reason will prevail.
We're going to have to leave it there. Certainly looking forward to seeing if we can get the U.S. on that negotiating table as a starting point, really, on this matter. All right.